Euless? Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, I think we should start.
We're ready.
Okay.
Ready when you are.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
The House of Representatives will now come to order. Leading us in our prayer this afternoon is Amy Wagner, State Coordinator of the National Day of Prayer, led by our Pledge of Allegiance, led by our Page of the Day, Danica Euless of Dakota Dunes. Please rise.
Be exalted, O God, above the heavens, and your glory above all the earth. You, Lord, in the beginning laid the foundations of the earth, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They will perish, but you remain. The earth and the heavens will grow old like a garment, and you will fold them, and they will be changed. But you are always the same, and your years will not fail. Let us be of one mind, having compassion for one another. Love as brothers and sisters, and be tender-hearted and courteous, not returning hurts for harsh words, but return blessings, so that we receive blessings. Let us refrain from using our tongues against one another, but seek peace and pursue it. Lord, we ask for courage in the moment, clarity every day, and conviction in our minds and hearts. Help us to leave personalities and politics outside the doors and focus on policy that helps the people and brings you glory. May we cast all our cares on you because you care for us. Give us strength to resist the enemy of our souls and remain steadfast in faith. And may God's perfect grace establish, strengthen, and settle on us with his perfect peace. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
The clerk will please call the roll.
Representatives Andera, Arland, Auk, Elward, Baummuller, Bathke, Baxter, Sismowski, DeGroot, Derby, Duffy, Emery, Fitzgerald, Fosness, Garcia, Goodwin, Gosh, Greenfield, Halverson, Healy, Heerman, Heineman, Hughes, Hunt, Ismay, Jameson, Jensen, Jordan, Jorgensen, Casson, Kaiser, Colbeck, Call, Ladner, Lems, Manhart, Massey, May, Moore, Mortensen, Muckey, Mullally, Mulder, Knowles, Norstrup, Odenbach, Overwig, Peterson, Poyer, Randolph, Rayfelt, Reimer, Reich, Rice, Roby, Rowe, Schaefbauer, Schwanz, Shorma, Schubeck, Sharda, Soy, Stevens, Uribalk, Van Diepen, Wahlberg, Weems, Weisgram, Whitman, Speaker Hansen.
Here.
Mr. Speaker, there is a quorum.
Approval of the journal.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Legislative Procedure respectfully reports that the Chief Clerk of the House has had under consideration the House Journal of the 27th day. All errors, typographical or otherwise, are duly marked in the temporary journal for correction. And we hereby move the adoption of the report respectfully submitted. John Hanson, Chair.
That motion having been made and seconded, any remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval of the journal will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. That motion carries. Communications.
Mr. Speaker and members of the House of Representatives, I have the honor to inform you that on February 24th, 2026, I approved House Bills 1118 and 1137, and the same have been deposited in the Office of the Secretary of State. Respectfully submitted, Larry Roden, Governor. Mr. Speaker and members of the House of Representatives, I have the honor to inform you that on February 25th, 2026, I approved House Bill 1043 and the same has been deposited in the office of the Secretary of State. Respectfully submitted, Larry Roden, Governor.
Reports of standing committees.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Legislative Procedure respectfully reports that the Office of Engrossing and Enrolling has carefully compared House Bill 1062 and finds the same correctly enrolled. Respectfully submitted, John Hanson, Chair. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Legislative Procedure respectfully reports that House Bill 1012, 1013, 1014, 1022, and 1111 were delivered to His Excellency the Governor for his approval at 9 a.m. February 25th, 2026. Respectfully submitted, John Hanson, Chair. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on House Education reports that Senate Bill 223 do pass, Senate Bill 138 do pass and be placed on the consent calendar. Respectfully submitted, Lana J. Greenfield, Chair. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on House State Affairs reports that Senate Bill 32 and 101 do pass. Senate Bill 34 was deferred to the 41st legislative day. Senate Bill 93 and 190 were amended and do pass. Senate Bill 197 do pass and be placed on the consent calendar. Respectfully submitted, Scott Odenbach, Chair. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on House Judiciary reports that Senate Bill 100 and 113 do pass. Senate Bill 81 and 82 do pass and be placed on the consent calendar. Respectfully submitted, Mike Stevens, Chair. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on House Commerce and Energy reports that Senate Bill 36 be amended and do pass. Senate Bill 88 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Carla J. Lems, Chair. Mr. Speaker, the Joint Committee on Appropriations reports that House Bill 1048 and 1262 do pass. House Bill 1147, 1150, and 1293 were tabled. House Bill 1261 be amended and do pass. Respectfully submitted, Mike Derby, co-chair.
Messages from the Senate.
Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to transmit herewith Senate Bill 74, 102, 106, 119, 120, 121, 133, 159, 221, 222, 228, 244, and 245, and Senate Joint Resolution 508, which have passed the Senate, and your favorable consideration is respectfully requested. Respectfully, Peggy Lorenz, Secretary. Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Senate has failed to concur in House amendments to Senate Bill 3 and has appointed Senators Rohl, Larson, and Nelson as a committee of 3 on the part of the Senate to meet with a like committee on the part of the House to adjust the differences between the two houses. Respectfully, Peggy Lorenz, Secretary.
Speaker appoints Representatives Overweg, Knowles, and Heerman as the committee of 3 on the part of the House to meet with the like committee on the part of the Senate to adjust the differences between the two houses on Senate Bill 3. Motions and resolutions.
Representative Odenbach moved that when we adjourn today, we adjourn to convene at 1 p.m. on Thursday, February 26th, the 29th legislative day.
That Odenbach motion having been made and seconded, are there any remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Odenbach motion will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Representative Odenbach moved that House Senate Bill 125 be moved to Wednesday, March 4th, the 32nd legislative day.
That Odenbach motion having been made and seconded, any remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Odenbach motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 605, a concurrent resolution recognizing the significance of the monarch butterfly and encouraging cooperative voluntary conservation efforts in South Dakota. Representative Uri Bulk moved that Senate Concurrent Resolution 605, as found on page 174 of the House Journal, be concurred in.
Is there a second? The Uri Bulk motion that SCR 605 be concurred in, having been made and seconded. Remarks on your motion. Representative Uri Bulk.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, today I rise to introduce Senate Concurrent Resolution 605. This resolution recognizes the significance of the monarch butterfly and encourages cooperative, voluntary conservation efforts here in South Dakota. As outlined in the resolution before us, the United States Fish and Wildlife Service has proposed listing the monarch butterfly as a threatened species under the Endangered Species Act. The monarch is an iconic species. It plays a role in pollination and in the broader health of our ecosystems. And it depends entirely on milkweed as the plant which it lays its eggs and feeds its larvae. The prime sponsor in the Senate has spoken thoughtfully about why this matters, particularly from an agricultural perspective. A full endangered listing for a species that spans nearly the entire country would carry significant regulatory implications, not only for farmers and ranchers, but for railroads, schools, hospitals, parks, and even roadside management. This is not a small consideration. So his message on the Senate has been consistent. Conservation efforts are most effective when they're involuntary, cooperative, and respectful of private property rights and agricultural operations. That language is explicitly reflected in this resolution. From my perspective, this resolution does something important. It affirms that South Dakota producers are not waiting to be told what stewardship looks like. Many are already integrating practical, low-cost adjustments, preserving milkweed in ditches, along creeks, in marginal areas, without mandates and without subsidies. They're responding to the land in ways that make sense for their operations. So in committee, members asked important questions. One was whether, quote unquote, voluntary means free from regulatory consequences. The answer is that this resolution does not create law. It does not establish a regulatory framework. It does not impose requirements. It is just an expression of legislative intent encouraging voluntary cooperative action. Another concern raised was whether the resolution can later become the foundation for policy. That is a fair institutional question, but this measure stands clearly as a statement of encouragement, urging state and federal agencies to work collaboratively with landowners, emphasizing flexibility, technical assistance, and avoidance of unnecessary regulatory impacts. Any future policy would require separate legislative action. We also heard concerns from ranchers about milkweed toxicity, particularly for horses, resulting in a few nay votes. But seriously, this is a real-world management issue, and it underscores an important point. Not every conservation practice fits every operation. This resolution does not prescribe where milkweed must be planted. It just encourages preservation, where practical and consistent with land management goals. That flexibility matters. This resolution also reflects something we know well in South Dakota. Our farmers and ranchers are indispensable partners in conservation. Their stewardship of land and water is practical, again, voluntary, and rooted in generations of experience. And it feels fitting that this is SCR 605, a number and butterfly that every South Dakotan recognizes. So I respectfully ask for your concurrence. And as my seatmate stated in committee, let SCR 605 fly.
Thank you. Further remarks, Representative Gosh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question for the bill's prime sponsor.
State your question.
Do you know what allowing milkweed to grow in South Dakota would do to the South Dakota snow bear?
Are you addressing? Representative Yuri Balk, do you wish to answer that question?
I would like to answer that question. Yeah, it's really healthy part of the diet. Extra nutrients, vitamins, resources, for sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Follow up.
Mr. Chair, just some comments if I can. You know, I'm a little worried that this bill might be a little discriminatory against our friends, the common ringlet, the Balkan marbled white, the Guatemalan cracker, the painted lady, can't pronounce that one, Karina Dragerwing, the orange daggerwing, anybody can gavel me down at any time, queen butterfly, common beak. I could go on, but I just, a few concerns there. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Further remarks on SCR 605. Representative Hunt.
Well, I just want to make a note that I was one of the nay votes to represent the many horses that I have owned and in memory of some of the horses that I have lost to eating milkweed. So that is why I will be a no and would encourage a no vote among the body to just stick up for our horse friends. And in addition, I do want to note that the USDA already has a program across the country that does promote technical and financial assistance with the preservation of monarch butterflies. And I think there is some danger to go down a state path where we're promoting more subsidies for conservation programs, especially when we're not mentioning the fact that Roundup Ready crops are the #1 reason that we have a decrease in milkweed population species in the state and across the country. So I encourage a nay vote.
Thank you. Further remarks on SCR 605. Representative Vandera.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, just to give you guys a little bit of background, I had an entire patch of milkweeds that were right beside my house for years. Always had a massive, massive population of monarch butterflies and other creatures of the sort. However, in the last 2 years, there's been nothing. Absolutely nothing. And the milkweeds are still there. There's been no eggs laid, nothing. I think that before we push a resolution like this forward, I think there needs to be further research as to actually what is killing off the monarch butterfly. Is it the habitat, like where they actually house themselves? Or is it something else? Chemicals in the air? Bad environments? Any other types of pollution? I just think this is too soon. I love the butterflies. Do not look at me as a butterfly hater, okay? I love butterflies. However, I just think that this is really kind of pinpointing something that just needs a little bit more research. So unfortunately, I'll be a no.
Thank you. Further remarks on SCR 605. Any further remarks? Representative Yuri Balk in closing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, yes, thank you for all the comments and the great discussion. I think this is just an endorsement. It's an encouragement. It doesn't, hold any regulatory things to it. And I also, with the milkweed, that's just the only place that it can lay its eggs. And so, yes, there might be other reasons contributing to its decline. And yes, I would fully endorse looking into all those reasons. But at the, foundation, the milkweed is needed. And again, if you have livestock or horses, it can be voluntary program. So with that, I would ask for a yes vote.
Thank you. Seeing no further remarks. Question before the House is the Yuri Balk motion that SCR 605 be concurred in. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine and the members will proceed to vote. Representative Moore. Granted.
Behind me up here in the balcony, I'd like to welcome Long Lake Colony. Their German teacher is Derek Wollman, and Amy Wagner is their English teacher. They're from McPherson County, eastern side of McPherson County, so you help me welcome them to the Capitol.
Representative Overwig.
Personal privilege?
Granted.
Thank you. Well, on behalf of my district mate, District 21, we have the Platte Geddes Panthers in town today, their government class with teacher Andy Vanessen, and please help me welcome them back.
Representative Poirier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Personal privilege.
Granted.
I would just like the legislator to welcome the president of the Oglala Sioux tribe, Frank Starr, comes out. Please stand. Thank you.
Representative Schwanz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I would like to welcome District 9 students and teachers from West Central High School in Hartford, South Dakota. There are 14 students from Districts 9 and 25. The chaperones are Travis and Mary Lou Nagel, and Jason Rops and Joanne Bull are the teachers. So I would like to welcome them to the People's House.
Representative Reich.
Personal privilege.
Granted.
So we've got Oldham Ramona Rutland. The 8th grade is up here with Mrs. Trower, and the seniors are over here with Mr. Mervick. Please welcome Oldham Ramona Rutland.
Representative Ismay.
All right, I knew I'd get up eventually. Personal privilege.
Granted.
We have today the Great Northern Lemon High School seniors that are here for the, Jiminy, you guys got me all flustered. But they're at the government class, and Mrs. Haley Straight. And would you guys stand up? And please welcome them.
Representative Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. Figured I'd stand up after that one. So I'd like to introduce today my mom and my mother and father-in-law, Ann Roby and Dave and Mary Peterson, here in the Capitol with us today. And quick fun story, just thought I'd introduce them after the Lemon class. Dave and Mary grew up in Lemon. So if you have any questions about some old-time Lemon stories, right there. So please help me welcome them.
Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
Clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were ayes 45, nays 20, excused 5.
The Uri Balk motion, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members elected, is hereby declared carried. HSCR 605 is concurred.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 606, a concurrent resolution encouraging the review and approval of water rights applications and future use reservations from the Missouri River. Representative Schwanz moved that Senate Concurrent Resolution 606, as found on page 293 of the House Journal, be concurred in.
The Schwanz motion that SCR 606 be concurred in, having been made and seconded. Remarks on your motion. Representative Schwanz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I would like to present to you SCR 606. This was brought by Senator Hone and myself due to a summer self-study and recognizing a need for action. This resolution was brought forward and supported in committee by Lewis and Clark Regional Water System, Dakota Mainstream, and East Dakota Water District. To start out, I just want to give a couple of facts about our state's biggest asset, the Missouri River. The river itself runs 2,600 miles and covers 7 states: Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, and ends up in Missouri. South Dakota donated 560,000 acres to the Missouri River Project. North Dakota donated 500,000 acres, and Montana donated 600,000 acres. It's important to know that these 3 states contributed all of the land so that downstream has the maximum benefits. South Dakota itself has 4 dams, and they all play a major role in flood control, hydropower generation, and water management. These are essential to the agriculture, power, and consumption. It must also be mentioned the rec benefits alone in South Dakota exceed $30 million a year in revenue, which includes the protection of habitat and environmental balance of the rivers and its unique ecosystems. This resolution is to create a hierarchy of water preservation for the Missouri River water, where our South Dakota citizens, South Dakota businesses, and agricultural partners are top of that list. Let's not be in the same situation as the Colorado River Basin states, where they have allocated more water on paper than the Colorado River actually produces. Current usage regularly exceeds the Colorado River's natural replenishment. Around 40 million people rely on the Colorado River for water across the 7 states. These states are now in high-stakes negotiations on how to share the water. They are facing a critical over-allocation supply. I would recommend to Google Colorado River negotiations, and you will see this controversial current issue. The 7 states involved in negotiating the future of the Colorado River, which is currently facing a critical over-allocation supply, are divided into 2 basins, which you would see on your sheets that I handed out. The lower basin, which is California, Arizona, and Nevada. The upper basin, which is Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, and New Mexico. These states are working on a new agreement to manage the river's dwindling water supplies, but as you can imagine, negotiations are fraught with conflict. The Colorado River Basin study shows where the western states are looking to bring in water from outside their basin, and being considered is, yes, the Missouri River. Under consideration or construction currently in South Dakota are the Lewis and Clark Regional Water System, Dakota Mainstream Regional Water System, and Western Dakota Regional Water System, and the water investment in northern South Dakota. All of these are being explored and developed, which shows the demonstration of the need. This resolution is to encourage smart, long-range planning. Let's not get ourselves into an insurmountable situation that the 7 states to the west of us are facing. This is a proactive approach to plan for future generations. If you reference the last sheet of your handout, I want to leave you with this highlighted quote from 49 years ago by attorney George Mickelson, who of course later became our 28th governor. Protecting our water source is not only generational and bipartisan, but it is responsible, especially as South Dakota becomes more enticing to out-of-state players looking for their own ways to tap on. These South Dakota resources must be allocated and protected by South Dakota. My dad always said that water is the biggest asset that you will ever have. And as in the old Western movies once said, whiskey is for drinking, but water is for fighting. I ask the House body today, are South Dakota's waterways worth protecting? I hope today this resolution is recognized for its intent and to encourage forward thinking for the allocations of the Missouri River waterways and its uses. I humbly ask for your support by pushing the green button today. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on SCR 606. Are there any further remarks? Representative Poirier.
Question for the sponsor.
State your question.
In your concurrent resolution, how do we account for water rights from our tribal nations?
Representative Schwanz, do you wish to answer that question?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much for the question. Our reservations have supreme tribal rights. Yes, it is part of the treaty agreements. The water rights are included. They have not been quantified, but are senior to all other rights due to this treaty, the winter rights established in 1908 through the Supreme Courts, or Supreme Rights, sorry.
Follow-up remarks. Any further remarks on SCR 606? Any further remarks? Representative Duffy.
Thank you. Question for the Prime.
State your question.
I noticed you had 3 of the water systems that I'm familiar with. I didn't hear anything on the West River. Are they a part of this?
Representative Schwans, do you wish to answer that question?
Yes, I do. And yes, that question was brought up in committee, and yes, they definitely are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on SCR 606? Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is the Schwann's motion that SCR 606 be concurred in. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine and the members will proceed to vote.
Gosh votes aye. Mulder votes aye. Representative Poyer. Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
Clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there are ayes 61, nays 4, excused 5.
Schwann's motion, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members elected, is hereby declared carried. SCR 606 is concurred in.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 607, a concurrent resolution supporting congressional authorization for and federal participation in major rural water supply projects identified by South Dakota Association of Rural Water Systems.
SCR 607. Representative Rowe has moved that SCR 607 be concurred in. Is there a second? The Rowe motion that SCR 607 be concurred in, having been made and seconded. Remarks on your motion? Representative Rowe.
I do, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. I bring you the single best Senate concurrent resolution of the entire session today. It's a concurrent resolution supporting congressional authorization for and federal participation in major rural water supply projects identified by the South Dakota Association of Rural Water Systems. Whereas safe, reliable, and sustainable drinking water supplies are essential to public health, economic development, agricultural productivity, and quality of life for the citizens of South Dakota. And whereas many regions of South Dakota face long-term water supply challenges that cannot be addressed solely through local or municipal systems and instead require large-scale regional solutions. And whereas the South Dakota Association of Rural Water Systems represents rural water systems, municipalities, and regional water suppliers across this state, and has a long history of working collaboratively with state and federal partners to advance responsible water development. And whereas whereas in 2024 and 2025, the membership of the South Dakota Association of Rural Water Systems formally adopted resolutions supporting the continued development, authorization, and funding of several major regional water supply initiatives that address documented water quantity and quality needs across multiple regions of this state. And whereas the South Dakota Association of Rural Water Systems projects include the Dakota Main Stem Regional Water System, serving central and southern portions of eastern South Dakota, the Western Dakota Regional Water System, which is addressing long-term water deficits in western South Dakota, the Lewis and Clark Regional Water System, which includes the pursuit of congressional authorization for feasibility work related to a second expansion to meet future demand, and the Water Investment in Northern South Dakota, which supports municipal, rural, and industrial water needs in the northern region of eastern South Dakota. And whereas large-scale water supply projects typically require congressional authorization, and federal participation through the United States Department of the Interior's Bureau of Reclamation and other federal agencies before construction and full implementation can proceed. And whereas congressional authorization is a critical prerequisite to securing federal cost share participation, advancing feasibility studies, and ensuring that projects can move forward in a timely and cost-effective manner. And whereas demonstrated alignment among local water providers, state leadership through the Department of Ag and Natural Resources, and South Dakota's congressional delegation strengthens the state's position in competing for federal authorization and appropriations. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the 101st Legislature of the state of South Dakota and the House of Representatives concurring therein, that long-term regional water supply planning is critical for South Dakota's future, particularly the major rural and regional water supply projects identified in the resolutions adopted by the South Dakota Association of Rural Water Systems. And be it further resolved that continued coordination is encouraged among local water systems, the South Dakota Association of Rural Water Systems, the Department of Ag and Natural Resources, and federal partners to ensure these projects are developed in a fiscally responsible manner that serves the long-term interest of the states and its citizens. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be transmitted to the Governor of South Dakota, the Department of Ag and Natural Resources, the South Dakota Congressional Delegation, the United States Department of the Interior's Bureau of Reclamation, and the South Dakota Association of Rural Water Systems. These 4 projects, folks, are decades in planning and decades into our future. We've all benefited from them, and we're going to continue to benefit from them. These are multi-decade long projects that some of us will never benefit from, but it's important that we plan forward, particularly regarding our water and the supply. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on SCR 607? Representative Poirier.
Comments, Mr. Speaker.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at this concurrent resolution. It's section line 10 through 13 says the South Dakota Association of Rural Water Systems represents rural water systems, municipalities, and regional water suppliers across the state, and has a long history of collaborating with the state, federal partners, to advance responsible water development. I ask you to look at that and then ask who's missing. The other section, in pursuit of congressional, line 22, in pursuit of congressional authorization for feasibility work related to a second expansion to meet future need. I ask you, who is missing? Page 2, large-scale water supply projects typically require congressional authorization and federal participation through the United States Department of Interior Bureau of Reclamation and other federal agencies before construction and full implementation can proceed. I've asked you, what is missing? In my district, we have the Mini-Wachoni Water Project, and I can't tell you how many times that I have to hear that our water pipes are broken, that areas of our district go with long periods without water in the winter months because our water pipes are broken. I hear on the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council, I hear our water department talk about how they need additional funding for their own pipes that are outdated, completely outdated, made out of material we used 50, 60, 70 years, and they break. But yet, we are here in modern times, and we still cannot move the needle on consultation. I get it. Sometimes when we go into areas we don't know about, there's a lot of uncertainty, and then we have a natural tendency to not even look there. But when we talk about future use of water, we admit that we are going to struggle. We admit that water wars are coming. We have those conversations here, but who is always missing? Who is always not here? We do our best to try to have these discussions and have debates, but we see state and federal partners being discussed here, but we're not. No tribes are mentioned in this. I challenge this body, I challenge the future leaders of South Dakota to come to the tribes and ask them, how can we help you? How can we help you solve your water problems? And through that, see what kind of friend you can make. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks? Representative Mortensen.
Between this resolution and the one before it, this is absolutely discussing what the next 100 years of this state are going to look like. It is flat out impossible to overstate the impact of water on each of our communities, including our tribal communities. I think that the good representative, the previous speaker, was exactly right to point in the resolution where it said that historically when these have been built, they were the result of a collaboration between the state and municipalities and federal partners. But in the Western Dakota Regional Water System, I have seen evidence, and I know it is true, that there has been collaboration with tribal communities, including at Pine Ridge and including at Rosebud, and including to serve the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, that they would be able to tap onto this water. I have heard a lot of complaints about Mini-Wachoni. For whatever reason, the engineering and execution on that project was not up to snuff. It just wasn't. It has more leaks than it should for a pipe its age, and it causes real problems. 3 years ago, it was 105 degrees right around the 4th of July, and they were running out of water. I mean, setting aside the cattle being watered who would die because that was their only source, think about the communities that are on that line. Now, that was averted, and they used storage tanks, and they've built more. But folks, this is an important thing for everyone to realize. And I would submit, and gavel me down because this is out of order, but because it's the last resolution, which I'm not supposed to be talking about, which says we have this Missouri River, and if we don't use this water, it will get used for us. And I've encouraged friends of mine who are in tribal leadership, perfect your water rights. Put them to use for your communities. And we're not talking about enough that would drain the Missouri River or make it not usable. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is let's make sure that these waters, for which our state gave up more land than any other, including hundreds of acres that I lost from our family ranch, from eminent domain when they flooded that and took that river bottom land, let's not have it that loss be gone forever. Let's not have it that we have this river running through here that we prohibit ourselves from having beneficial use, but it must be planful and it must be collaborative. So here's where I'm really going to get gavelled. There's a third bill, which is we're putting our money where our mouth is. We're saying we know this is important. We know we need to do this. We know these water projects are the most important infrastructure project in this state right now. And the third bill puts our money where our mouth is and says, we'll start to put in our money, as in this bill, we are asking for the federal money. And so this is an important dialogue. It needs to include the tribes. And I am proud to say on the Western Dakota Regional Water System, I believe it has, and that can always be better, but I think that pipeline, that water pipeline will never get built unless it serves tribal communities. I don't think it's something that is optional or that would be nice if it was done. I think it is necessary. So I vote yes on this, but this is an important topic, and I'm glad one that you gave me your attention for today.
Thank you. Further remarks? That is out of order, sir. Sorry. Further remarks on SCR 607? Any further remarks? Anything in closing, Representative Rowe? Representative Rowe in closing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In late 22 or 23, I signed the incorporation papers for the Dakota Main Stem Project as part of a small group of people that we all agree we need to move the needle on the water supply in South Dakota. Part of that signing was a reach to everyone in our area, which included several of the tribes. That was a big part of what we wanted to do, draw everybody in. I'm not speaking on behalf of Dakota Main Stem, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the South Dakota Association of Rural Water Systems, but I can tell you, attending several water conferences and administrative meetings, everyone in the state is part of the equation, and everyone is asked to come to the table with input, good and bad. I think this just further amplifies the need that we establish something going forward, particularly when we all obviously agree that water is worth fighting over. So I'd urge a green vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is the row motion that SCR 607 be concurred in. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine and the members will proceed to vote. Representative Greenfield.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Up above your head, we have some guests in the audience today. And on behalf of Representatives Rowe, Jordan, Van Diepen, and me, we would like to welcome the Clark government class and their instructor, Mr. Dave Severson.
Mulder votes aye. Gosh votes aye. Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
The clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there are ayes 57, nays 8, excused 5.
The row motion, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members elected, is hereby declared carried. SCR 607 is concurred in.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 608, a concurrent resolution urging collaboration to reduce hunger and food waste in this state under the protections of the 1996 Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Food Donation Act.
Representative Whitman has moved that SCR 608 be concurred in. Is there a second? The Whitman motion that SCR 608 be concurred in having been made and seconded. Remarks on your motion, Representative Whitman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In South Dakota, more than 110,000 of our neighbors face hunger. Nearly 40,000 of them are children. That is not abstract. That's kids in Sioux Falls, families on our reservations, and seniors in our rural towns that are stretching meals to get by. Meanwhile, 35% of usable food in this country is ending up in the landfill. That disconnect should trouble everybody in this chamber. This resolution is practical and bipartisan. It simply encourages restaurants and grocery stores to partner with nonprofits to direct safe, wholesome food to people who need it. The Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Food Donation Act already protects donors acting in good faith. The framework currently exists, we just need stronger collaboration. SCR 608 creates no mandate and no new cost. It promotes coordination, compassion, and common sense, and I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on SCR 608? Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is the Whitman motion that SCR 608 be concurred in. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine and the members will proceed to vote.
Representative Auk. Representative Fitzgerald. Auk votes no. Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
The clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were ayes 56, nays 9, excused 5.
The Whitman motion, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members elect, is hereby declared carried. SCR 608 is concurred in. Consideration of committee reports.
Representative Odenbach moved that the reports of the standing committees on Health and Human Services on Senate Bill 89, as found on page 420 of the House Journal, also Transportation on Senate Bill 164 and Senate Bill 180, as found on page 421 of the House Journal, be adopted.
That Odenbach motion having been made and seconded, are there any remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Odenbach motion will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. First reading of Senate bills.
Senate Bill 74, transfer monies to the general fund from the Budget Reserve Fund and the General Replacement Fund, and to declare an emergency. Senate Bill 102, modify the distribution of gaming revenues. Senate Bill 106, modify the amount required to be set aside for extraordinary expenses incurred in providing special education programs. Senate Bill 119, create the Capital Restoration Fund and to transfer monies thereto. Senate Bill 120, make an appropriation for the economic development of South Dakota. Senate Bill 121, make an appropriation for developing the economic viability of South Dakota. Senate Bill 133, provide additional legislative oversight of rulemaking. Senate Bill 159, revise requirements pertaining to the minimum age for marriage.
Ladies and gentlemen of the gallery and those watching at home, this has been the first reading of Senate bills. Constitution requires that every bill receive a first and second reading on the House floor. That was the first reading of Senate bills. Of course, all of those bills are available online at stlegislature.gov. The Speaker assigns to House Commerce and Energy Senate Bill 102 and Senate Bill 221. The House Committee on Appropriations, Senate Bill 74, 106, 119, 120, 121, and 222. To House Judiciary, Senate Bill 134. To House State Affairs, Senate Bills 76, 96, 133, 159, 204, 244, 245, and SJR 508. To House Taxation, Senate Bill 228. And to House Transportation, Senate Bill 219. Second reading of consent calendar items.
Senate Bill 14, modify provisions related to the practice of pharmacy. Senate Bill 153, prohibit certain restrictions in employment contracts for community services providers.
Consent calendar items having had their second reading are up for consideration and final passage. Consent calendar items are bills and resolutions that have been reported out of committee with no negative votes and certified as uncontested. If any member objects to the placement or retention of any item on the consent calendar, that item must be removed from the consent calendar and placed on the House calendar for debate. Items on the consent calendar are not debatable, but questions may be asked. Are there any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, then the question before the House is final passage of the items on the consent calendar. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine and the members will proceed to vote.
Representative Jordan. Jordan votes aye. Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
The clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there are ayes 64, excused 6.
Consent calendar items, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members elect, are hereby declared passed. Any questions on the titles? Seeing none, the titles are deemed correct. Second reading of House bills.
House Bill 1244, an act to repeal the Special Donations Fund and make an appropriation to the Department of Education for the provision of a grant to support the Jobs for America's Graduates, South Dakota program.
House Bill 1244, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Arlen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the House. Well, this bill today is about proven impact. For more than 15 years, Jobs for America's Graduates, or as we affectionately call it, JAG, has been quietly changing the trajectory of students across our state. What began as a small pilot program has grown into a trusted, results-driven model that schools, employers, and communities believe in. The outcomes truly speak for themselves. JAG has a 99% graduation rate, a 99% retention rate, and 88% of students that are in the program move on to full-time employment, post-K through 12 education, or join the military. Folks, these are not average students. To qualify to be a member of JAG, you have to have at least 6 barriers. Unfortunately, in the state of South Dakota, our students on average have 13 barriers to success. Many are navigating poverty, instability at home, lack of work experience, or parents who have not finished high school. And yet they excel. Through mentorship, accountability, and real-world skill building, JAG becomes their kitchen table at school. Students learn how to apply for jobs, interview, communicate professionally, manage their finances, and set goals. So you all know how much I love JAG. You've even probably heard this story before. I want to tell you again, if you haven't, about Brody and how I fell in love with this program. I have a small business in South Dakota, and when I had an opening in my agency for someone to come in for 2 hours at the end of the day, run the mail, run the deposit, answer the phone, take some heat off my team, I went through 7 interviews, most of them being in college, and felt completely defeated about the next generation. They came in with no resume. One came in sweatpants and a stocking hat on his head, and then in walked Brody. Brody was a junior in high school, and he came in with a shirt and tie on, a printed resume, shook my hand, and said, "Thank you for the time today, Miss Arlen." I hired him on the spot, and as he was walking out the door, I said, "Brody, I gotta know, how did you get so prepared for your interview today?" He goes, "Oh, Miss Fetty taught me. She's my JAG teacher. She knew I had this interview coming up, and she helped me get prepared for it." Brody worked in my agency for 18 months and has been one of the best employees I have ever had. HB 1244 provides a one-time investment of $500 to help JAG attract private and federal dollars, strengthening existing programs we have, and thoughtfully expand while maintaining strong oversight still by the Department of Education. This is not simply about funding. It's an investment in our young people who are wanting to become not only the best of South Dakota, but the best of themselves. I would respectfully ask for your green vote and would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Further remarks on House Bill 1244? Representative Uri Balk.
I too also want to share a JAG story. I was out knocking doors, and as someone answered the door, a gentleman, and I mentioned that I was a teacher, and he said, "You know what? I have to let you know, JAG saved my life." He honestly thought that if he hadn't gotten involved in JAG, which had leadership opportunities, he ended up being able to fly to DC and experience just a whole bunch of opportunities that otherwise he wouldn't have experienced, and he honestly thought that he wouldn't be there today if he hadn't had that program. So I ask for your yes vote.
Thank you. Further remarks on House Bill 1244? Representative Mucky.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When we look at one-time appropriations in the Appropriations Committee, try to look at what is the highest and best use of our taxpayer dollars in terms of ROI. And I think this is probably some of the smartest money you can put on the table. We're talking about the type of money we're talking about here. We're talking about a $500,000 one-time grant that will ultimately help us address a very critical need with this particular program, which is the fact that we do not have a vehicle to actually partner with philanthropy in an effective way. Why does that matter for this particular program? This program has a variety of funding sources, both locally and otherwise, but this is also historically one of the best and highest uses we've had for our temporary assistance for needy family dollars, TANF dollars. What this appropriation does, and which is why I'm so wholeheartedly in favor of this, is it allows us to finally have a vehicle with the Department of Education that they've been working on with the JAG program to maintain oversight from the Department of Education and from us as a legislature, but also permanently have a vehicle that will allow for community philanthropy investment in programs that are known to work, that are putting kids to work, that are keeping them out of the need for a social safety net in our state, and allow us to stretch further those TANF dollars that are the most effective way to lift people out of poverty. We're talking about a multitude of wins here. And what I think is important is we may not have the number in front of us today of what is the opportunity for philanthropy to lead the way in our communities, but it is a way to expand the program without more taxpayer dollars. This is probably the most effective way we can accomplish this going forward. And I really can't tell you enough, when we talk about smart money, we're talking about money that's helping our kids lift out of poverty, find the right jobs, and stay in the workforce in a meaningful way long-term, and help us manage the most that we can of the federal TANF program that we administer so that more people can be lifted out of poverty. This is the best money you can have out there to lift people out of poverty and create a pathway to healthy workforce for years to come. So I encourage a green vote today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Further remarks on House Bill 1244? Any further remarks? Representative Jensen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is certainly a well-meaning program. It's probably done some good. The question is it the role of the government? Once again, some would argue, yep, from the grave, from birth to the tomb, right? Government handles everything for us. Under South Dakota Constitution, Article 7, subsection 2, no money may be paid out of the Treasury except pursuant to appropriation by law. House Bill 1244 exercises that authority to direct general fund dollars to a named program category. Although the nonprofit is not named in the statute, the bill narrowly defines the eligible recipient as the organization implementing Jobs for America's graduates in South Dakota, creating a targeted grant structure. This is not a reduction in government. It is a substitution of voluntary private support with public expenditure. The fact that the grant may be used to match private or federal funds embeds a continuing public funding role and encourages structural dependency on state revenue. The legislature has the constitutional authority to appropriate funds for education-related purposes under South Dakota Constitution, Articles 8, subsection 1, but the question is structural. Whether taxpayer dollars should be used for private donations were previously the vehicle. As Davy Crockett warned in his famous "Not Yours to Give" speech, legislators are custodians of taxpayer money, not benefactors dispensing personal charity at public expense. The issue is not whether the program is worthwhile. The issue is whether it is yours to give. Public funds extracted by taxation are not private donations. They are compulsory. House Bill 1244 increases general fund spending by $500,000, embeds a targeted grant mechanism, and expands state fiscal involvement in a nonprofit program that previously operated through a donation fund structure. Under the core first principle, if a bill expands government spending authority, it expands government power. Please vote red. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks, Representative Fitzgerald.
Thank you. I have a question for the prime, please.
State your question.
I just have a question. What is the $500,000 used for? We struggled with whether we were going to pay for school lunches, and so I'm just thinking of that. So if you could just give me an idea. Thank you.
Representative Arlen, do you wish to answer that question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for the great question. I really appreciate it. So what we really want to use this and target it on is we are working to expand the program. And most of the funds used for this program actually are local dollars out of the school districts that these programs are in. What sometimes happens is districts will say, man, I know this would be great for my students, but I just am not 100% sure if I'm going to get good buy-in from the students. I don't want to go allocate a full FTE, move the teacher who was previously teaching English over to be only a JAG teacher just to have there not be the buy-in. Would you please fund a year of this FTE so that way we know we have buy-in before we make a full decision and move forward?
Follow-up remarks, Representative Fitzgerald.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on House Bill 1244. Representative Norstrup.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was not going to speak on this, but the question was asked, what's the role of government? And the message was, this is not the role of government. Well, yesterday I answered the question. The role of government is to improve the lives of the citizens. The role of government is to provide opportunity for the citizens. The role of government is to reduce the tax burden of future generations by creating good citizens that will not end up in prison. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Further remarks on House Bill 1244. Representative Reimer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I wasn't going to speak on this, and I haven't said that in my 8 years of serving in the legislature. But I just want to remind you, this program works. It's 99% success rate. And I don't know if you recall, a couple of years ago, we had one of the JAG students recognized from Governor Noem. It was from the Presho School District, Melina Shields. That helped her get a job at Crazy Horse. She's in school at Black Hill State, and she is thriving. A couple weeks ago, we had Marley Wells here as a page. Her ability to, what the program provides to these students, the confidence and the ability to reach out and apply for whatever programs are out there, the PAGE program, for jobs, whatever, it gives them the confidence that they can be successful. And so, role of government, this is it. So please vote green.
Thank you. Further remarks on House Bill 1244. Any further remarks? Representative Arlant, in closing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, everyone, for some great talk about this today. You know, the best thing that sometimes comes out of talking on the House floor is getting more word out about the JAG program. I've had a couple people tell me today that they hadn't heard of it before, and so I love that we were able to bring that to light in this conversation. Just want to leave you with a statistic. $270,000 to $100,000 is what it's estimated it costs when somebody drops out of high school. I think it's an incredible investment we can make. That's 2 kids. That's 2 kids dropping out that we're going to make an investment on today. If we make this investment today and we can keep 2 kids in graduating high school, we'll have paid for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is final passage of House Bill 1244. Due to the appropriation, House Bill 1244 will require a 2/3 vote. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine, and the members will proceed to vote.
Gosh votes aye. Overweg votes aye. Mr. Speaker, all members have
The
voted.
clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were ayes 51, nays 14, excused 5.
House Bill 1244, having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the members-elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed correct. Second reading of Senate bills.
Senate Bill 111, an act to require that social media companies provide collected personal data of a user at the user's request and maintain transparent interoperability interfaces.
Senate Bill 21, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Excuse me, that's not the right bill number. Senate Bill 111. Okay, hold on a second, everybody. Okay, yeah. We're going to start that over again.
Senate Bill 21, an act to modify tax refunds for elderly persons and persons with a disability.
Senate Bill 21, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Weems.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, Senate Bill 21 is going to talk about elderly and persons with a disability. So we talked about young, and now we're going to talk about older and people with a disability. This is an assistant program for senior citizens and citizens with a disability. The program began in 1974. It's been around for a long time. The bill rolls 2 chapters together of code, so it streamlines the process and returns money faster into eligible applicants' hands in the form of a check. Eligibility is based on income, age, disability status, and residency. The bill updates income eligibility to $17,215 for single-member households and $23,265 for multi-member households. The maximum income level is 110% of federal poverty level. The Senate amended the bill to add a cap of $500 per single-member household and $1,000 per multi-member household. The department mails out former recipients the annual application, which has a QR code on it for easy application. The department also sends applications, promotional pieces to every county and other nonprofits to try and encourage participation. Those also have a QR code on them. In 2005, there were 1,054 eligible applicants, and $357,984 was refunded. That amount was appropriated, and it gets appropriated in a separate bill, and in the past, a small amount was reverted back to the general fund. With the change that they're doing, rolling the two together, they don't anticipate that any money will be reverted back. And it was very, very small what was reverted back. The average amount dispersed is $380. And based on the 2025 data, the refund will increase by approximately $50. With the change, it is expected that the entire appropriation will be utilized and help those who need the most help. This bill modernizes distribution, reduces refund checks and administrative costs and staff costs. The bill will streamline the process and place the check in applicants' hands faster. This will continue the relief for our elderly and persons of disability. I urge you to vote green on Senate Bill 21.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 21? Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is final passage of Senate Bill 21. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine, and the members will proceed to vote.
Ismay votes aye. Mortensen votes aye. Rayfeld votes aye. Representative Emery. Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
Clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were ayes 58, nays 7, excused 5.
Senate Bill 21, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members elect, is hereby declared passed. Are there any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed correct.
Senate Bill 111, an act to require that social media companies provide collected personal data of a user at the user's request and maintain transparent interoperability interfaces.
Senate Bill 111, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Whitman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do have an amendment for this.
Is that Amendment 111E?
It is.
Has it been distributed online?
It has.
And do you wish to move it at this time?
I do.
Is there a second? The motion by Whitman to amend Senate Bill 111 with Amendment 111E having been made and seconded. Remarks on your motion, Representative Whitman.
If I could request latitude to speak to the full bill with the amendment, Mr. Speaker?
Granted.
Thank you. This bill is about something straightforward: ownership and portability of personal data. Today, if a South Dakotan wants a copy of the data that they've generated on a major social media platform or wants to take their content and connections somewhere else, it is often difficult and inconsistent. SB 111 requires the largest social media companies, those with more than 100 million monthly active users, to provide a user's personal data in a portable, usable format upon request. It also requires standardized interoperability so users can move their social graph and content if they choose. Regarding Amendment 111E, after the Senate clarified that primarily e-commerce platforms like Amazon should not be included, representatives from Meta reached out and pointed out that the language unintentionally excluded YouTube, which is clearly a major social media platform. While Meta has remained neutral on this bill, they worked with us to ensure the amendment corrects the oversight so all large social media companies are held to the same standards. This bill does not regulate speech, it does not dictate content moderation, it does not apply to small businesses or religious organizations. It simply affirms that South Dakotans should be able to access and transfer the data that they create. At its core, this is about consumer choice, competition, and digital property rights, while maintaining privacy and security safeguards. I respectfully ask for your support.
Thank you. Further remarks on the Whitman motion to amend? Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is the Whitman motion to amend Senate Bill 111 with Amendment 111E. This is a voice vote. All those in favor of the motion to amend will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are now on Senate Bill 111 as amended. Any further remarks? Representative Manhart.
Question for the Prime.
State your question.
Sounds like a good bill. I'm totally for transparency and all that. Just something came to me while I was sitting here. Would this force companies to retain your data when it otherwise wouldn't, for the purpose of then giving it back to you when you requested it? Just a question.
Representative Whitman, do you wish to answer that question?
I do, thank you, Mr. Speaker. That is a fair question. No, this bill does not require companies to retain the data that they would not otherwise keep. It only applies to data that the company is already holding.
Follow-up remarks. Further remarks on Senate Bill 111. Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is final passage of Senate Bill 111 as amended. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine and the members will proceed to vote.
Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
Clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were ayes 62, nays 3, excused 5.
Senate Bill 111, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed correct.
Senate Bill 114, an act to provide for the publication of ballot images and the cast vote record of automatic tabulating equipment.
Senate Bill 114, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Lems.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, Senate Bill 114 states that cast vote records and ballot images collected by the automatic tabulating equipment are public records. It requires the auditor of a county to produce these records. If, however, the equipment does not produce the records, then they are not required to turn them over. So, we only have 4 counties that this applies to right now in our state, and that is Davison, Lincoln, Minnehaha, and Pennington. This passed the Senate committee and the Senate with a unanimous vote. It passed out of House Affairs 11-1. And this legislation is very similar to Senate Bill 104 that passed out of the Senate local government last year, but failed to make it out of joint approps because it was asking for general fund dollars. This year's legislation does not ask for an appropriation, so it should not have that same hangup. In fact, this legislation is very similar to SB 48 from 2024, which was introduced then by the Secretary of State. So with that, I would ask you to please vote green.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 114? Any further remarks? Representative Mucky.
Question for the prime sponsor.
State your question.
My only concern, I want to make sure is addressed on the record. I'm seeing the notes about unredacted ballot images, which I very much want to make sure is preserved. Is there any risk that there could be personal information leaked on somebody's ballot through those ballot images?
Representative Lems, do you wish to answer that question?
Remembering from committee, from what I remember, the answer would be no.
Follow-up or remarks, Representative Mucky.
Remarks, if I may. I appreciate the prime sponsor's intent here, I think, from my end, especially when it comes to ensuring trust and transparency for folks when it comes to automatic tabulating equipment. I think it's a smart move. What I worry about, similar to data leaks that happened earlier this year with the Secretary of State's office, I worry about us putting out ballot images. I would feel a lot more comfortable in this case if that were not included, for the risk that somebody's personal information and their vote would be placed into the public record. But outside of that, I understand the intent and appreciate the prime sponsor, but I will be voting red for that reason. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 114? Any further remarks? Representative Lems, in closing.
All right, so I want to point out that the CVRs are not tied to a voter's identity. These are anonymous records showing how each ballot was interpreted by the tabulation equipment. And these records contain the underlying data that produced the election results without revealing who voted. And they are not the same as individually identifiable ballots. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is final passage of Senate Bill 114. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine and the members will proceed to vote.
Mr. Speaker, all members have
The
voted.
clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there are ayes 61, nays 4, excused 5.
Senate Bill 114, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed correct. The Constitution requires the Speaker to sign bills in open session, and so the Speaker is signing Senate Bill 71, an act to authorize the assumption of certain responsibilities and the waiver of sovereign immunity in connection with certain actions under federal environmental law. The Speaker is signing Senate Bill 26, an act to revise procurement for highway construction contracts. The Speaker is signing House Bill 1062, an act to revise a provision related to aggravated assault. Ladies and gentlemen, our doctor of the day is joining us once again from right here in Pierce, South Dakota. It's Nolsha Quinn. Please join me in thanking and welcoming him. Announcements. Representative Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Everybody's invited to St. Charles Hotel tonight, the reception by the South Dakota trial lawyers and criminal defense lawyers from 4:30 to 6:30.
Thank you, Representative Overweg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow morning, 7:45, we have ag.
Thank you, Representative Goodwin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Military and Veterans Affairs meets 15 minutes in room 413. The sooner we get there, the sooner we get done.
Thank you, Representative Mulder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow morning, House Health at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, 3 bills, House Health.
Thank you, Representative Randolph. Good afternoon, sir.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. There is no House transportation tomorrow.
Thank you.
I mean, we could if you want, but it wouldn't be official.
Representative Ladner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Local government tomorrow morning, 414, we have 2 bills.
Thank you, Representative Odenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House State Affairs meets 15 minutes after we adjourn today in 414 to consider 6 more bills.
Thank you, Representative Hughes.
House taxation tomorrow morning, 7:45, you know where.
Representative Derby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Joint Committee on Appropriations, 8:30 tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further announcements? Representative Baumüller.
Mr. Speaker, I move we adjourn.
All those in favor of adjournment will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. No. Motion barely carries. We are adjourned.